This is true, then our country is in a lot of trouble.
We would have these trips, these special trips.
But he said my daddy takes the bodies to the grocery store and he grinds them up and puts it in the hamburger. And nobody ever knows it.
How can kids 6, 8, 10 years old be describing rituals that come from a book like the Book of the Dead? It's hard to get your mind around people being capable of this kind of evil.
Welcome back to Course Correction Radio and another edition of CCR Weekly. I am your host, Trey Harris, and of course, this is the show that makes those little rascals over in the mainstream church say,
I hate your stinking guts.
Yep, that's right. This is not one of those shows that takes itself too seriously. We take our message very seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously, and we fully realize that the church hates us, and we're okay with that because, well, that just means that we're doing something right. That means that, Jesus said, they'll hate you because they hated me first. And, he was talking about the world there, but he was also talking about churchianity as worldly as they are. And it's sad to say that, but it is true. Nevertheless, let's get right down to business. Guys, you saw it over there, and let's do this. That way you guys can see my screen, and I apologize, you guys can't see me on screen, but, I'm sure none of you actually care about that. It's just, sometimes it's just easier to set up the show without the camera, mainly because everybody is exhausted. Sarah's not feeling well, so keep her in your prayers, and I've got all the lights off because this my little corner studio over here gets pretty bright, but, you guys can see it on the screen back over here. Let me switch back over. You guys can see it right there. Now you see TV at nystv.org. I say it every week, guys. Please take advantage of this. Use the promo code CCR. And look, if you would rather, they all have codes. We all have codes for this. Here's the important part, whether you use my code, Dan's code, John Hall's code. Take advantage of these promo codes. nystv.org is absolutely worth it. Use your first month free, and you can get this, the Book of Enoch video commentary series with David Carrico and John Pounders. You will get Vampires, Lies of the Immortal. Now, this is a part of the Dark Covenant series. You'll get Dark Covenant, Secret of Secrets, which was the documentary that the trailer just played for here not long ago. And let's see. There's that. But, guys, you can come down here, and there's tons of stuff. You'll get the Midnight Ride 2021, Cutting Edge 2021. The Book of Enoch, the Doctrine of Christ Seasons 1 and 2 are up here, as well as the Too Hot for YouTube section, Breaking Babylon, the Banned from YouTube section for Midnight Ride and Pounders Live, as well as NYS TV exclusive documentaries. We've got other documentaries as well. Guys, take advantage of this promo code, whether it's mine, John's, Dan's, you name it. The important thing is that these are here for you, and if you do so choose to use this promo code CCR, just know that we do thank you so much, because not only are you helping support NYS TV, you're helping support this channel as well. So we also want to give a huge shout out over to Annie at Shake and Wake Radio. Guys, check this out. You're going to get tons of excellent shows up here. If you were in the car, this is the way to go. You'll get Old Damn Guard, you know, this is the best of Shake and Wake Radio with Rick and Annie. You get Time Out with Kevin Gallagher. Doomandbloom.net, Survival Medicine. You'll get the Prepper Chicks. You get Champagne Jam. Govern America. You'll get Cancel the Cabal. Now, that's a live show, I believe. Truth Radio Show with Dan Badandi. I mean, guys, you don't want to miss that. You'll get the Jim Duke perspective. He's got a really fascinating show. He's got some interesting takes on things. You'll get Frank Vaughn. William Ramsey Investigates. You get tons of stuff up here. Yeah, guys, make sure you check this out, because every Saturday you get Sabbath Saturday at Shake and Wake Radio. So, guys, go over here, show your support to Annie, because, look, she is a one-woman show, and I'm telling you guys, she knocks it out of the park. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourselves. That is shakeandwakeradio.com. And we just want to say to Annie, thank you so much for letting us be a part of the Shake and Wake Radio family and carrying our show on your network. It means so much to us, as well as you. You mean so much to us, and you are a member of this family here. And so we just want to give you a huge shout out, Annie. Guys, also make sure you check out truthradioshow.com. You know, many of you guys, you follow The Cutting Edge, you follow Truth Radio Show, you follow Dan, so you guys know that these guys have some run-ins with the crew over at YouTube. So make sure you guys go and subscribe to Dan's website, because that's where you're going to find the show. Worst case scenario, everything is over here. You'll get the nightly news, the Dan Badandi Show, Spiritual War Fridays, guys. I mean, those are every week, never fails. The grace of God is amazing, and Dan knocks it out of the park. Also, make sure you guys check out remnantrestoration.org, which actually, as about the time of this recording, they are actually live over on their channel. They are, if you're not subscribed over to Remnant Restoration, which I think they're live on Now You See TV right now, but both Now You See TV and Remnant Restoration, as well as Truth Radio Show, they are all in our recommended channels on our YouTube channel, so you can find them all there in one easy place. Also, make sure you guys, if you haven't, check out all the tools that you can have over at FOJCradio.com. David and Donna have tons of excellent tools for your use with, you know, they've got tracks, they've got books, everything that'll help you with your walk of Christ and be able to help minister to others as well. So make sure you guys check these many tools out. They're there for your edification. Whether it's Now You See TV, Shake and Wake Radio, any of these guys up here, make sure you check this out. And we're just going to exit out of these just because, well, unfortunately, we don't have the best internet over here, so we want to make sure we have everything closed out as best as possible. So let's get right into, we are almost 10 minutes in, so we need to get right into the first segment of the show, and that is this week's headlines with the Weekend News Bulletin. All right, as you guys saw in the title, we have a theme once again for this week's news show, and that is inflation, inflation, inflation. And our first article comes from the Epoch Times, and it is inflation. Quote, inflation mentions during corporate earnings calls hit 20-year high. So, in yet another sign that high price dynamics could stick around longer than previously believed, the number of times the word inflation was mentioned during earnings calls in the third quarter has surged to its highest level in over 2 decades, and that is according to a Bloomberg tally. Transcripts of analyst briefings of 1,557 global stocks in the third quarter showed that inflation was mentioned over 3,600 times, according to Bloomberg, which noted that this is the highest number in more than 20 years. Now, as you can see, there are a few hyperlinks in here, and we tried to do the due diligence of grabbing a couple of those for you. So let's take a look at some of these. Let's go deeper down this rabbit hole, shall we? And this is the hyperlinked Bloomberg. Let's see. So signs suggest inflation may not be so transitory. So while central banks make assurances that inflation is transitory, many corners of the market suggest otherwise. Global angst among businesses about inflation is rising as the cost of raw materials rises, increasing pressure on them to raise consumer prices. The 10-year U.S. Treasury yield has broken through a key resistance, despite Federal Reserve assurances. Rising price pressures accelerated inflows into inflation-protected exchange traded funds this year, and the strong relationship between inflation and commodities indicates there's more upside for raw material prices ahead. The mentions of inflation during earnings calls have surged in the past year, with the last quarter seeing a surge to the highest in more than 2 decades. The word popped up more than 3,600 times in the transcripts of analyst briefings of 1,557 global stocks. And for our blind viewers that are listening on the audio podcast, there is, if you go to the show notes linked in the description of the podcast, you will see that in the Bloomberg article, they have included a graph of the earnings calls. And yes, it has skyrocketed between 20. They've got it from 2000 through 2004, 2005 through 2009. It goes up. So in about 2000, it's right down here at around 500. Now it slowly increases to 2009, where it reaches maybe about 2010. It is close to about 1,500. Goes up 2009, 2010, and around closer, I think it's about the fourth quarter of 2009. It goes up to about 2,000, with it in between the second and third quarter of 2019, I'd say 2018, 2019, it is around 2,500. But now, if you go to 2021, It is through the roof, over 3,500. And like I said, you can find all of this in the show notes at coursecorrectionradio.com. So bonds traders have begun to position for the return of inflation, even as Fed Chair Jerome Powell said in a recent hearing that inflation will likely moderate after remaining elevated in the coming months. Ichimoku analysis is a Japanese trend-following method for determining whether trading trends will continue or reverse. It consists of 5 lines that help traders determine a bullish, bearish, or neutral bias, with the blue shaded area representing the Ichimoku cloud. The 10-year U.S. yield has broken through the cloud resistance in addition to the horizontal resistance at recent highs. The yellow lagging line also crossed above the cloud, confirming the positive reversal of the daily trend. So, guys, I'm going to be perfectly transparent. So I know a little bit about economics, but some of this stuff is right over my head. But and you can see these lines here. So there, and they do have everything there. So if you guys know more about this, this is there. I wish I could give you more information on it. I'm just not that good with stuff like this, and I'm not afraid to admit it. This is not my area. My area is with the Bible, and I'm not even an expert at that, but I get that a lot better than I get stuff like this. So that's why we normally take the things that we're not so sure about, but we try to look at them through the lens of the Bible, because the Bible, especially when you go through the doctrine of Christ, is not going to lead you astray. So investor demand for hedges against inflation is increasing. A total of 51 inflation-protected ETFs attracted $33.6 billion this year and registered a year-to-date gain of 3.8%. At $7.3 billion of net inflows, the iShares TIPS bond ETF topped the list, followed by the Vanguard short-term inflation-protected securities index fund at $6.5 billion. The article, I will not bore you with all the details. If you would like to go into a deeper dive of that, it is available in the show notes. The main point that I wanted to show you is that just the mention of the word inflation is up in these business calls, and there is a reason for that. So the Treasury Secretary says U.S. not losing control over inflation at Twitter CEO's issue dire warning. So this one I thought was interesting. So this is the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, and she says U.S. is not losing control over inflation. Now, we're going to get into the second part of that in a bit. So Twitter Chief Executive Officer Jack Dorsey issued a warning about the economy over the weekend as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on October 24th said the United States isn't losing control over inflation. Quote, hyperinflation is going to change everything. It's happening, Dorsey wrote on Twitter. Quote, it will happen in the U.S. soon, and so the world. During an interview on October 24th with CNN, Yellen said inflation levels would return to normal by the second half of next year. She made the remarks in the context of promoting President Joe Biden's domestic infrastructure and social spending packages worth trillions of dollars combined, saying the two programs would be implemented over 10 years. Quote, I don't think we're about to lose control over inflation, Yellen said. On a 12-month basis, the inflation rate will remain high into next year because of what's already happened. But I expect improvement by the middle of the end of next year, second half of next year, end quote. Supply chain snags, the article goes on, have bedeviled the United States and other countries as economic reopenings have spurred a surge in demand, she said. Quote, as we make further progress on the pandemic, I expect these bottlenecks to subside. Americans will return to the labor force as conditions improve, she said. Yeah, but see, here's the problem with that, and I got to step out of the article for a minute just so we can point this out. when you incentivize the American people, and we went over this in a past episode, I believe it was CCR Weekly number 3, we actually took a look at the state-by-state areas where we looked at the emergency supplement for the unemployment matched with the regular unemployment of each state, and some places are in a 100%. Which means they are paying people, the states are paying people more to stay home than they are to go to work. And even the states that aren't, the people could still make enough to where they haven't been properly incentivized to go back to work. So until you take care of that problem, you're not going to fix the economy. And of course, these people in the bureaucracy of our government are full of crap. Plain and simple, they're just full of it. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it, because it doesn't take, sorry for the noise, just in the microphone. It doesn't take an economic genius to realize that if you incentivize people to stay home and there's not enough people at the shipyard to properly unload the things and put them on trucks, not to mention the fact that you can go and listen to experienced truckers talk about how long it takes these trucks to be loaded. There's so many problems with the systems and the regulations that the government have on it. When you add that with the fact that people are incentivized to stay home, bottlenecks are happening, because it's not because we have a surging economy. It's because we have a absolute train wreck and we have too much government intervention. Plain and simple. Now, I have to say allegedly on all of this because, like I said, I'm not an expert, and YouTube may decide that they don't want me saying things like this, so I have to, kind of walk a tightrope. But the bottom line is it doesn't take a genius to figure out that this lady is full of it. So, however, a group that represents UPS, FedEx, and other air cargo companies issued a warning that the looming Biden vaccine mandate for federal contractors on December 8th would trigger supply chain chaos. With that mandate coming amid the Christmas shopping season, they argued that it will further adversely impact needed operations and noted that worker shortages are already persistent. Meanwhile, a report from the Department of Labor released earlier this month found that the U.S. Consumer Price Index is running near a 30-year high. Year-over-year prices in September were up by 5.4%, the note found, noting price increases for food, cars, and other staple goods. Procter & Gamble and Unilever, which both make consumer goods, announced in recent days that they would boost prices of certain goods amid worsening inflation. Not to mention the tax hike that is going to come with all of this quote-unquote stimulus. So, guys, you can check out the rest of the article there. These people are just full of it. So gas prices are going to be up, and they've actually vaulted to a 7-year high. Isn't that funny? The last time the sitting president was in office, gas prices were high. I mean, he wasn't in the presidential office, but he wasn't far off from it. And look how high they were then. That's all I'm saying. All right, this is also from the Epoch Times. So, guys, if you haven't noticed, I really like the Epoch Times. They have some good articles, and they always link to where they get their stuff. So, I really like that. So the U.S. price of regular grade gasoline is continuing to rise, with the national average hitting a 7-year high. As of October 27th, the national average rose to 3.394 per gallon from 3.389 the previous day, and up from the month ago average of around 318, 319. According to AAA. Quote, with the U.S. economy slowly recovering from the depths of the pandemic, demand for gas is robust, but the supply is tight. AAA spokesman Andrew Gross said in a statement, we haven't seen prices this high since September of 2014. Excuse me. The nation's top 5 most expensive markets were, as of October 27th, California at $457, which, by the way, I think, guys, since this has gone up, I cannot confirm this, so take this with a grain of salt. I have not actually had time to sit down and look at it because I'm normally on the road. Just driving to and from work, round trip is about 4 hours. So I haven't really had a chance to sit down and look at much other than what I actually prep for the shows. But I've heard that gas prices are now over $7 in areas in California. So San Francisco, California $456, Hawaii $429, Nevada $393, Washington $387, and Oregon $378. San Francisco gasoline prices, which according to AAA on October 26th averaged $4.73 for a gallon of regular unleaded, appeared poised to hit an all-time record. Gas Buddy head petroleum analyst Patrick DeHaan wrote in a tweet on October 25th, and we have that tweet for you, that gasoline prices in San Francisco were just 1.2 cents shy, goodness gracious, of a new all-time high. Quote, it will be the first city to set a new record for hashtag gas prices since 2012. So let's pull up that tweet because we have some interesting stuff on this. So first of all, let's look at the gas prices from AAA. We've got a graph for those of you watching this on the video podcast, which if you were listening to this on the podcast and do want to see this in real time, you can head over to our YouTube channel and you can find it there. So look at this. So this is California, 4.58, Nevada, 3.92. So over here in my home state of North Carolina, and this says it's 3.25. I have not been able to get it for a dime under 3.30 all week. Virginia's at 3.29, which I do. Now, I will say this. My area, I live in about central North Carolina, but I work this area right here. So this is the Outer Banks over here. I work the inner coasts, and then I work all the way up here around the Virginia line. So that might be why mine's a little bit more expensive as I'm getting closer to Virginia. So, wow, South Carolina's a lot lower, 318. Georgia is 325. Florida is 331. Now let's go up here to places like New Hampshire is 333. Maine is 339. New York is 354. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Ohio 318. Indiana, where I'm about to move to, is 331. And so you guys get the point. So, but there's an interesting link is in the show notes, so you can check that out. So this is the tweet from Patrick DeHaan. So San Francisco gas prices are just 1.2 cents shy from a new all-time record high. It will be the first city to set a new record record high for hashtag gas prices since 2012. It could happen yet today. There is that. We've got all of this there for you. By the way, guys, you can follow us on Twitter at Course Core Radio. And I'll try to make sure that I update the socials. We really, you can find all of our shows there. We post all of our shows there. That way, if you miss one, you can go back and see it. You can find them on Facebook and Twitter, things like that. So, let's see. And this is going to be our last article, and then we're going to take a quick break because we're coming up right at the halfway mark for the first hour of the show. All right, Biden has a few options to combat surging gas prices as voters grow concerned about inflation. So here's some of the key points in the article. Retail gas prices averaging $3.38 per gallon on October 25th have risen roughly 50% in 2021, surpassing pre-pandemic levels. Of course. That's what happens when you stop using local petroleum, and you start shipping oil in from overseas. I mean, it's going to get higher, especially when you've got bottleneck supply chains. I mean, it's unreal. Combined with price spikes across a variety of goods, inflation is hitting Americans' wallets and threatening the economic rebound heading into the 2022 midterm elections. The White House has acknowledged it has limited options to address the problem. So this is what the White House said. The White House said it directed the Federal Trade Commission to investigate possible price gouging and the National Security Council to urge countries represented by OPEC Plus to increase production. So let me tell you what this is right here. And this is just my opinion, so take it for whatever it's worth. This investigation right here is just a way to shirk responsibility for the fact that our government is run by incompetent people. So, guys, I actually saw this at the gas station the other day. These stickers are hilarious. Except the one we had was a lot worse. It had like 4 exclamation points on it. But, man, I'm telling you, after a long day, it was the laugh I needed. Because it was about, I was on my way home from work. And normally get off on a regular day. I get off about 6 or 6:30. And I'm normally home by 8 or 8:30 at night. So it was already dark. I saw this. I was just irritated because it was cold and wet. And, yeah, that sticker right there made my day. So oil prices are the byproduct of market forces of supply and demand. Domestic energy advocates say the White House owns environmental policies. Guys, take in mind, this is CNBC. So, whether it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's mainstream, secondary, alternative, scrutinize everything. Scrutinize this show. I mean, my goodness, I'm only human. Like I said, I work full time. I love doing this in my spare time. It's one of the highlights of my week. But, there's plenty of room for me to mess up. So scrutinize, whether it's the news, whether it's the apostate report, or especially when we were going over the Bible, guys, scrutinize it with a fine-tooth comb. Be a Berean. Do your own research and test everything. So we're going to take a quick break. I will be back here in just a few minutes. I'm going to grab a refill on the coffee, and we will go into the next story. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on CCR Weekly.
This is true, then
I'll get the song right eventually, I promise. All right, thank you guys for holding on. We're gonna get right back into the show here in just a second. But guys, first, if you don't mind, let's see, you can come right over here. So, like I said, you can. Let me go back to the screen share. All right, guys, this is our website. This is coursecorrectionradio.com. And, of course, I always try to read off of. I always have the show notes published before the show. That way, if you guys are. By the way, this is why I want to show you this, because if you guys come down here, you can get everything that we have. And you can get these sent directly to your inbox in your email. All you have to do is come over to the website and you can subscribe. You can come right down here. You can comment on the show notes, let us know what you think. But you can also enter your email address and you can subscribe to the show and get it sent. After I upload them to Spreaker, I always put a Spreaker link in there, so if you don't have time to listen during the premiere on YouTube, you can always go back. So, but I just wanted to let you guys know that in this age of censorship, if you guys are willing, please subscribe to the website directly. It is a huge help. You'll get all the show notes and everything sent directly to your email, as well as I write blogs on different things as well. So right now we're going through the book of Genesis with a fine-tooth comb in some of the blogs. So if that's something that interests you, please head over there and subscribe. It would mean a lot. All right, so let's get right back into this because we are a little over 30 minutes in, and I want to keep the news within the first hour of the show, because we got a lot to talk about, as you guys can see with some mainstream church stuff as well. So, where are we? Goodness gracious. All right. So, check this out, guys. So, I don't know how many of you feel about Thanksgiving. Personally, me and my family celebrate it because there were a lot of Puritans involved with the Pilgrims that came over for religious freedom. So, as of right now, we still celebrate it. But if you are, whether you do or not, you're still going to know it because you're still going to be eating. Thanksgiving will be more expensive this year, Farm Bureau. So Americans will experience a more expensive Thanksgiving in 2021 due to higher inflation and supply chain issues, according to the American Farm Bureau Federation. Quote, when you go to the grocery store and it feels more expensive, that's because it is, Veronica Nye, senior economist of the American Farm Bureau Federation, told CBS News, adding that overall food prices are up 3.7% in 2021 against the 20-year average of around 2.4%. Overall, a Thanksgiving dinner, including a turkey and all the different side dishes, will cost between 4% and 5% more in 4% or 5% more in 2021 than in 2020. She said last year the overall cost of preparing a Thanksgiving dinner was under $47, which was the lowest since 2010. The Farm Bureau said. The Biden administration earlier this month said it gained commitments from the ports in Los Angeles and Long Beach, as well as UPS and FedEx, to try and alleviate some supply bottlenecks. The Marine Exchange, which tracks container ships at the two California ports, said there are 105 waiting at the ports as of Tuesday. There were 98 container ships at the ports about a week before that. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the shutdown of meat processing facilities led to a lower amount of meat being kept in cold storage. Quote, agriculture is like everybody else. It's impacted by the supply restraints we've seen, Nye said, adding that about 10% of food costs are related to producing raw goods, while the other 90% involved distribution, wages, and other costs. A U.S. Department of Agriculture report, which there's the PDF linked that you can click on, released on October 22nd, found that the price of frozen turkeys was already up from last year, while the price for fresh birds is also higher. Nye noted that the available birds might be larger than normal this year because producers opted to feed them longer in anticipating a higher demand for turkey meat. Quote, if you can't raise more turkeys, raise turkeys that are a little fatter, Nye said. You might pay more than you want, but you will be able to find it, she said. Higher than usual inflation, meanwhile, while also a factor into this year's Thanksgiving, will also factor into this year's Thanksgiving. According to a recent U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics report, the Consumer Price Index increased at about 5.4%. Quote, over that period, prices for food at home increased 4.5%, driven by a 10.5% increase in prices for meat, poultry, fish, and eggs. Prices for food away from home increased 4.7%, the report found. Other food items like peanut butter, coffee, and bacon also saw significant increases over the year. So let's go in and break this down. Because, like I said, we've tried to do our due diligence and make sure that you guys have the follow-ups for these as well. So this was the CBS News article that was alluded to. So one thing U.S. consumers, so this is on the table for Thanksgiving this year, higher food prices is what the article is titled. So one thing U.S. consumers won't be giving thanks for on Turkey Day this year. I hate it when people call it that. The higher cost of food and just about everything else amid sharply rising inflation. Quote, when you go to the grocery store and it feels more expensive, that's because it is. We already read that. As a result, the overall tab for turkey and all the trimmings will cost 4 to 5% higher. So we've gone over all this. It's basically just a rehash. If you would like to compare the two articles, you can, but for time's sake, we are going to move on. So there was also a tweet there that was alluded to, and this is what that says. And normally when I put the tweet, it automatically embeds it, but I literally prepped this entire show from my tablet in the middle of nowhere near the Virginia line a few days ago. So, this is the Marine Exchange RPT 1026, 162 total ships in port for LALB, 105 at anchor or loitering, and 57 at berths. Of the 162, 105 are container ships, 77 at anchor or loitering, and 28 at berth. 52 vessels loitering, 42 container ships, 4 tankers, 6 bulk. Loitering is the new name for holding area. Wow, man, what a disaster. And you can see, look at this. So let's click on this picture and see if we can zoom in. Look at this, guys. Do you see that? My goodness. That is incredible. Wow. So the link for that tweet is for the blind viewers. There is a tweet in the show notes under the food prices section. We've got everything. Tried to have everything emboldened so that way it would be easy to sort through. There is a Twitter link. Click on it and you will see a picture of tons of ships out in the ocean. It is incredible. So this is... I don't remember what this is, to be honest. So this is the Economic Daily. This is for the end year. So this is the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this is the consumer prices for meats, poultry, fish, and eggs up to 10.5% for year ended September 2021. So, guys, there is all these numbers right here. I've made sure to link all of this. That way you guys have access to it in the show notes below. So, but we're coming up on 45 minutes, so it's there for you if you want to read it. Check out the show notes linked below in the description. So, apparently, the elite bankers that are, the heads of the Federal Reserve are okay with being, quote, patient as, inflation is skyrocketing. So this is from the Epoch Times. Powell says inflation risk rising, but Fed can be patient. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Friday that the tangled supply chains and shortages that have bedeviled the U.S. economy since the summer have gotten worse and will likely keep inflation elevated well into next year. The Fed is not yet prepared to lift its benchmark interest rate, he said, though he suggested that the economy may be ready for a rate hike next year. So there is now greater risk of longer and more persistent bottlenecks and thus higher inflation, Powell said at a virtual conference hosted by the South African Reserve Bank. Powell, echoing many economists, has previously said that the shortages and higher prices are mostly a result of the pandemic's impact on supply chains, while factories in Asia temporarily closing amid COVID-19 infections and dozens of cargo ships anchored offshore. He said Friday that he still thinks those supply problems will be resolved over time, but the Fed will be vigilant and take steps to push inflation back down to its 2% goal if necessary. Quote, "No one should doubt that we will use our tools to guide inflation back to 2%, he said. Consumer prices, according to the Fed's preferred gauge, jumped 4.3% in August from a year earlier, the fastest such increase in 3 decades. The Fed chair said he is ready to taper or reduce the central bank's $120 billion in monthly bond purchases, which are intended to lower long-term interest rates and encourage borrowing and spending. Powell is widely expected to announce the tapering after the Fed's next meeting around November 2nd through 3rd. But he added that it would be, quote, premature, end quote, to raise the Fed's short-term interest rate because the job market needs more time to recover. Powell noted that there are still 5 million fewer jobs in the United States than before the pandemic. Quote, "We think we can be patient and allow the recovery to take place and allow the labor market to heal. Make of that what you will. I personally don't trust the Federal Reserve, but hey, that's just me. And I have my reasons for not trusting them. And if you want to know more about that, you can start by reading the book, Behold a Pale Horse. So inflation isn't just an American problem. I think many of us know that. But for those who are still not fully awake, yeah, you need to pay attention to what's going on the world stage because it feeds into prophecy big time. So Asian stocks fall after Australia inflation accelerates. Asian stock markets fell Wednesday after Australian inflation increased, highlighting global pressure oh, goodness gracious. Asian stock markets fell Wednesday after Australian inflation increased, highlighting global pressure for prices to rise, while investors look to U.S. economic growth data due out this week. Wall Street's S&P 500 index rose 0.2% on Tuesday to its second high in 2 days, driven by strong earnings reports by some major companies. Australia's underlying inflation rose by 0.7% points to an annual rate of 2.1%. In the 3 months ending in September, the government reported fuel costs rose by a record 7.1%. Investors worry rising inflation as economies recover from the coronavirus pandemic might put pressure on central banks to roll back economic stimulus that is boosting stock prices. Quote, "A jump in Australian core inflation highlighted intensifying cost pressures in the global economy," said Anderson Alves of Active Trades in a report. Investors were waiting for U.S. economic growth data due out Thursday that might influence whether the Federal Reserve changes its timeline for reducing stimulus. There's more to the article. Feel free to check it out. The link is, of course, in the show notes. Moving on. So I told you we'd be getting back to it, and I wanted to make time for this last story. So this was, this is from InfoWars. So this is, I wanted to go with somebody who knows the struggles from big tech, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't a mainstream source. And, well, regardless of how you feel about Alex Jones or InfoWars, you can't argue that they're not a big fan of Jack Dorsey or Twitter. So Twitter's Dorsey warns of surging inflation after his platform, quote, mistakenly censors GOP lawmakers' video about ... inflation. So not only is this about that, but this is as well a different take on, there's some additional information that was left out of the previous articles. So this is Jack's Twitter page, and it says, Jack Dorsey may have to censor himself after the Twitter CEO tweeted that hyperinflation will soon grip the U.S. and global economies. The observation, which does not align with the mainstream media narrative, drew Bush back online. And there is a tweet here for those of you watching, and for the blind viewers, the listeners, this is what it says. Hyperinflation is going to change everything. It's happening. When Nigerian businessman Tayo Oviasu, who like Dorsey is a cryptocurrency enthusiast, noted that inflation is already soaring at 16% annual rate in this country, the Twitter co-founder replied, "It will happen in the U.S. soon, and so the world." Such predictions might appear to be within the realm of possibility, given that U.S. Consumer Price Index is already rising at 5.4 annual rate, and the nation's money supply is ballooning. In fact, as the Wall Street Journal reported earlier this week, the so-called M2 money supply, or the total volume of money held by the public, jumped nearly 36% between the end of 2019 and August 2021. It's been rising at the fastest price in nearly 80 years. However, the take prompted a stinging rebuke from MSNBC host Chris Hayes, who suggested that Dorsey's tweet may have been driven at least partially by his cryptocurrency investments. Hayes went as far as to equate talk of hyperinflation to promoting anti-parasitic drug for treating COVID-19 patients. Man, the mainstream media loves their horse-paste stuff, don't they? By the way, those of you who don't know that, this horse-paste, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then I can't help you out. But it's also a Nobel Prize-winning drug for humans as well, antiviral and antiparasitic. So, investment trader Christopher Inks, founder of Texas West Capital, argued that Dorsey's prediction was off base. Quote, "It's not happening," Inks tweeted. "This tweet is based on a clear misunderstanding of how the Fed and inflation actually work. Love what you do otherwise, but this appears to be outside your wheelhouse." Another commenter said hyperinflation would mean a currency collapse, adding that, quote, "Be careful what you wish for." Dorsey replied, "Not a wish, nor do I think positive at all." Dorsey's tweet has racked up over 66,000 likes and more than 20,000 retweets since it was posted on Friday. In the past, however, the platform faced accusations of censoring similar opinions. Back in July, an inflation video posted by U.S. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy was deemed sensitive content by Twitter censorship police, who throttled back with its potential exposure by slapping it with a warning label. Wow. Yeah, you're getting hit with warning labels all the time. I got hit for an explicit. One of my podcasts got put explicit because of the content that it was about with the split over the United Methodist Church. So, how about that? So there's more to the tweet, but we're going to go ahead and stop the first hour here. You can read this. It's there, guys. Next, make sure you stick around because we've got the second hour of the show coming up, and we're going to be talking about the church's actions in this time prove we are close to the end. And that will be our apostate report. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back here on Course Correction Radio. You're listening to CCR Weekly.